Hello, Sagittarius. Welcome. Thank you for being here. It's going to be a general read from what I've been dealing with. Of course, everything may not resonate, so take what does and leave the rest. And for more tarot readings after this, please check out my wife's channel, Invalidity 3 Tarot Futures Review as well. Thank you. All right, let's see what's going on. Huh. Okay, Sagittarius. Huh? What? I don't understand that. Ooh. What? One more and I'll jump into this. Interesting. We'll go with it. The tower on top of the deck. Hopefully not. What is that? Why do they present themselves so aggressive from the start? I don't understand that. It's like they're energetically like, get back, go and get. Like, what is that? I don't understand what that is. I don't know what this is, Sagittarius. It makes me think of one of those for this. I'm having a scene kind of flash in my mind. One of those scenes where like a couple or a relationship or a friendship, let's just say, right? You're close, but for some reason they're emphasizing like, yeah, not that close though. Shh. They kind of like put their arm around you, or like they kind of put their arm around you, whether it's over your shoulder, like over the behind the neck, or whether it's like around the waist, and they're kind of like, let's go this way, and they kind of just redirect you, or they kind of like, let's go this way, no, let's just focus over here. That's how they're starting this off. Or it's kind of like they might even be kind of like doing this thing, like, kind of like moving you away like that. If it's not kind of like directing you like that, it's directing you like that. I don't know what that is. That is definitely some sort of distance or separation or space between the two of you. That they're deliberately, like I said, I kind of make the smart ass comment of like, go on, get back. I make the smart ass comment about that, but there's something there specifically personal to them about why they do this. Or it might be even a situation like, okay, Sagittarius, it's not about you, it's about me. I don't know what that is. Like they're kind of like putting their hand away, like it's not about you, Sagittarius, it's about me. But at the same time, they are emphasizing like the two of you have that connection, close enough, clearly. Um, but for some reason, very quickly, they're just kind of like, fuck, here I am, a Sagittarius. Like, what is this energy where it seems in kind of like, let's just say, for example, um, they want it to be about them, but for some reason, because it is the two of you, they're like, okay. They do have that realization of like they kind of have to, in a sense, play ball a little bit for the overall situation or dynamic to kind of like work out long term wise. Like you can make the moment about what they're emphasizing is like they can make the moment about them, but they also very quickly come to the terms of like, but it actually, requires both of us. And so that's a little weird. It makes me think of like a game show on television where there's the main host and then there's the assistant. And sometimes the camera flashes and, flips back and forth between the host and the host and the assistant. And what happens when, let's just say, for example, the assistant gets a little bit more screen time or airtime than the host. Then all of a sudden, what I'm seeing is them realizing, like, oh, yay, it's about me. But apparently, they want to be, they want to be the host in this example. They want to kind of like be the main whatever. They want it to be about them. But at the same time, they also realize, like, okay, but I know I have an assistant, or I know I'm not the only one. It can't just always be about me all the time. It's about us. I don't know what that's about. Interesting. That's a very interesting dynamic. So once again, energetically, like the redirecting is a little bit interesting. It feels like they're kind of energetically taking up a little bit. What they kind of sometimes will call that is posturing. They might take up a little bit more space. Like, you know what? I'm going to take up a little bit more space. So that it's kind of like a little bit of a distance or space between us, Sagittarius, so I can make it about me. Or sometimes someone will do this deliberately, like, boundaries or like a no or a yes, maybe specifically or conveniently at those certain moments. They want it to be about them. And so there's like, once again, there's this energy about space. Even though the two of you are close, and I say in quotes, simultaneously putting space between the two of you, but also still close. And that's what I'm talking about. It's like, I need a little space. But it feels like because they're taking up a little bit of space. It does show up a little bit deliberately. But I mean, they have their reasons. That's the thing. They have their reasons, but they know, like, okay, you can't necessarily, make this all about you all the time. But for that moment, they're like, it is about me. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, what they're emphasizing is like, let me have my moment, or not even let me have my moment, but I'm taking my moment. And so by them taking up space, they are taking their moment. Because for some reason, I don't know energetically what that is about them kind of doing that, because they're lacking that counterbalance. They're lacking that from you, or the dynamic or the connection, the relationship. Huh. There you are. There you are. This is a situation of, goodness gracious. Yes, I know, Crosswatcher. This is a situation of, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? They're kind of asking, like, what are you going to do about it, Sagittarius? You going to do anything or do nothing? Sometimes people will take up space by putting space between the two of you for the sake of trying to see how someone's going to respond to that. It's not even a test. It's just like, you know what? They might do this, subconsciously, taking up more space to put space between the two of you. It's like a buffer. They take up more space for a buffer because something is lacking or missing. That's what they're showing me about the connection. So they might be interesting, this whole dynamic with space and energy. They might be, they're taking up space, but putting space between the two of you, but they're also holding space simultaneously. And so you start to see these different dimensions of this dynamic. Jeez Louise. Crosswatcher, touche with your energy work. Touche. You are experienced. Like, what are you going to do, Sagittarius? This is, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that because that's the wrong example. But it's kind of like, it makes me think of that, what's that movie? Crazy Stupid Love. The scene in it where I think they're, he's trying to like talk to the guy about like getting his balls back. And so they're in the men's locker room and he's butt naked with his junk in his face. And he's like, "Can you get that out? Can you get that out of my face?" For the scene of the movie. Can you get that out of my face? And he's like, "Look at you. You're kind of pathetic." In other words, he's trying to get him like aggressive, so that it's kind of like there's that fire lit under his ass of like, "Hey, get the fuck out of my face." I'm not saying that's this, but it's a soft version. Like, what are you gonna do? If I kind of put a little bit of space between me and you, Sagittarius, what are you gonna do? There's a difference in energy. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna try and close that space and that gap and fill that space for them because that's what they want? Or are you gonna be like, okay, fine, and then walk away? That's what they're kind of wondering. Like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna notice? Is it gonna click? Is it gonna be like what's gonna go on? What's gonna happen? Um, it doesn't feel. That's the thing. It doesn't feel like a test. It doesn't feel like a test. It feels subconscious. That's a kind of geez Louise. It almost feels like there's the devil. It almost feels like a deciding factor, which is a little bit more scary. It's not a test. It's like it's a point. And so, like I said, with that all that energy, it's a point that they're trying to make. Oh my goodness. They're like, do you get it? Do you get it, Sagittarius? Do you know how to energetically what they're saying is whatever this connection, relationship, or dynamic is between the two of you, can you read the dynamic? Can you read us? Can you read me? Or can you not? And if you can, what are you going to do about it? And if you can't, what are you going to do about it? I don't know why they kind of throw the ball back in your court, but it is what it is. Goodness gracious. Oh, gee, you're showing me that same energy. It's a deciding, yeah, you're showing me that energy, cross watcher. It's a deciding factor. I'm going to leave it at that. It's a deciding factor. Um, I'm going to leave it there because, wow, I get that. Um, they're hoping you'll notice, Sagittarius. They're hoping you'll notice because they're hurting. They're hurting. I mean, they're hurting. I don't know how else to say that. They are hurting. They're hurting. This is a situation of it makes me think of those connections, those relationships where someone's like, getting, it's not necessarily like being 50-50 in the relationship, or investing 50-50, like 50%, 50%. It's about 100 and 100. But at the same time, it's like if someone's not at 100, if so, the typical saying, if someone's not at 100, if they're like, let's just say if they're at 30, hopefully that other person they're with can kind of like make up the 70. Be there for them. Be there to help each other out. The two of you can lean on and depend on and rely on each other to, lift each other up in those low moments or those difficult or painful moments. Because when one person begins to feel like they're carrying the weight of the world not only on them but the weight of the world for others as well, that's when people begin to crack, and that's when people begin to snap, and that's when people begin to realize, am I doing more for my relationship than what my relationship is in a sense giving back to me? I do so much for someone. It's not necessarily about getting something in return. It's just about observing and noticing, what is that energetic exchange? Is it equal? Is it balanced? Or is it imbalanced? Is it all on one person? Or are two people making this shit work together? That's why they kind of get back to the point of like the deciding factor of like, um, this is one of those situations of, typically, another example is like when someone goes through an unfortunate breakup or they get burned in love. It's like, you know what? Thank you for hurting me, because you taught me how to love myself correctly. You taught me how to heal myself. And because you did that, people might see me as like unhurtable. Yeah, you're gonna get hurt in love, but people might be like, you might want to watch out for that one. They're okay being alone. They've learned to survive. They learned to heal their wounds on their own. Yeah, they're gonna get hurt, but they're also gonna heal that much quicker and get back out there. And you're gonna wonder like, what the fuck? In those moments of needing someone, if someone doesn't step in and fill that space or close that space, you're showing someone, do it on your own. And when you do that to someone, anyone, they're like, okay, then I'm going to take up more space. I'm going to make it more about me. But the problem is when that happens, especially if it's with someone that's important to you, they learn to not need you. Thank you for hurting me. You showed me how to do this without you, in other words. What's that song? Listen to your heart before you tell them goodbye. Don't know what they're going to decide here moving forward, Sagittarius, but they're like, I have a decision to make. So we'll see. Goodbye.